from South Florida, Mark Winning Picks Lawrence. And now, let's get it on! Against the Spread, Winning Picks with Mark Lawrence.
And welcome back, everybody. Once again, this is Mark Lawrence, and we're all set to go against the spread on this, the first week of the National Football League card, week number 2, or 2+, if you will, in the college football side of things. And joining us on the show, as we do each and every week, is our panel of experts, Jim Feist, the legend himself from Las Vegas, Andy Iskoe from TheLogicalApproach.com will be taking a bye week. He's off this week with some computer issues, as I understand. And Greg DePalma, our producer extraordinaire, will be part of the experts panel on the show today. And with that, I want to welcome everybody to the show. Jim, how are you and everything in Las Vegas these days?
I'm, relatively speaking, doing pretty well. The weather has really gotten a lot nicer. I did spend my 9 days in Cleveland. It's like penance for some bad thing that I did in my life. I don't know what it is. I just
pay your penance. Huh?
No, it's a good little town. It's just not very prosperous. I don't know. I think when they lost all the car manufacturing there, I think the money situation got worse there.
Yeah, when the steel mills went out, the car production went down. Everything started moving away from the Great Lakes, and that's when Detroit, Cleveland, and everything around the Great Lakes started going backwards. And
right.
Practically, for all intents and purposes, drove me to South Florida as well, as much as of an allegiance that I have to my hometown, Cleveland. But I will say the weather is much nicer here as it is in Las Vegas as opposed to Cleveland. I'm sure you'll agree with that.
Well, Cleveland wasn't bad when I was there. In Vegas, I came back and it was 114. But now it's nicer. It's in the 90s. So, although 2 days ago it was 105, but it's a lot lower than it was. So it's better.
Well, it'll get a little crispy, a little cooler as we get closer and closer to the end of the year. I guarantee you that, and you'll be glad you're there in December as opposed to being in Cleveland that time of year.
That's for sure.
Greg DePalma, where was home for you? I know you're in Asheville, North Carolina, as we speak right now, and I never did find out what your hometown roots are. Where are they, and when did you move from what was your base hometown?
Union City, New Jersey.
Oh, wow.
The second biggest population. When I was living there, it was the second biggest population in the United States for Cuban Americans.
Really?
Yep, two of my best friends were Cuban Americans.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Where is that? In what
right
part
next to Jersey City.
Okay.
Hoboken.
Okay, got it.
It's a 15-minute ride to the East Rutherford to watch, to go to games, football.
Is that how you became a Jet fan?
Yeah, I probably became a Jet fan. Well, my father and my brother were Giant fans, so you know how that goes. When you're the runt of the litter, then you have to change sides. You can't go with your dad and your big brother, who you hate when you're growing up. So yeah, it was, and I actually, believe it or not, I was actually a Cowboys fan too when I was growing up. So
because you didn't know any better, right?
Yeah, but it was the Jets that, and then my friend's aunt had season tickets, and so I was able to go to Shea Stadium. Like once or twice a year, which was fun. It was awesome watching the Jets at Shea Stadium. And then, so that's how I became a Jet fan. And then I moved to South Florida when I was in my early 20s, and I stayed there for about 25 years.
So between Uniontown, was it New Jersey?
Union City
and South Florida, I can ask you this question. ¿Se habla español?
No, zero.
No, zero.
It was funny because my Cuban American friend, and I used to go over to his house, and every time I'd be waiting for him to get ready, and his grandmother would be there and like trying to help me to sit down, can I get you something, whatever she was saying. And she was obviously speaking Cuban. She has no American, no English. And I'd be like trying to communicate with her as best I could. And my friend used to laugh about it because he said that his grandmother said, "Oh no, he understands exactly what I'm saying. We communicate really well." And it was just funny. It's the fact that I used to be able to have these conversations with this old lady who was a Cuban. And but yeah, that unfortunately it never stuck. And that was probably because I was probably too lazy too young to think that I needed a second language.
Well, that's where we were, and this is where we are today, sitting here with Jim Feist visiting just before the football card. I always thoroughly enjoy that and look forward to it. Jimmy, before we get into the show, is there anything you want to share with the guys up at the front of the show that you might want to make mention of that you've come across or heard as we enter into the National Football League Week 1?
Well, there's a lot of news out there, but we all know about the Parsons trade. Everybody should be talking about the Slater losing, being out for the year for the Chargers, which I think is a huge loss. I think the switching of quarterbacks with Pittsburgh and the Jets, I think is unique. Rodgers was the Jet quarterback. Fields was the Pittsburgh quarterback. Now they're on opposite teams facing each other in game 1. I think that's unique.
How about for totals, props, alternate lines, or teasers?
Yeah, things you've done with Victor as far as those.
Because you got that show tomorrow with Victor, right?
That's tomorrow with Victor. Yep. But I gave an example on the show that I did with Matt yesterday. Matt Yeomans, that is. But I mean, if you're going to bet under 7.5 and let's say lay 110 or take 110 on the team, bet under 6.5 and get 2-1. Why not? So you bet the 7.5 for a part of your bet, and then under 6.5. So many times they finish outside the one game difference.
So buy a point, you're saying?
Well, actually,
you're not buying it. You're playing an alternate line.
Oh, the alternate line. Okay.
Right.
Oh, I mean, why not?
What's the difference between the alternate line and buying a point?
Well, you can buy points. You can buy points in regular games, but I don't think you can buy a point on win totals.
I don't think you can buy wins. No.
Yeah.
Right. You can pay bigger prices.
Win total bets.
Right.
But you can do it on like for example, if you like Kansas City -3, you could buy it to -2.
Okay. So you were talking about win total numbers,
win
7.5 to 6.5. Okay.
Right.
Got it. And what about alternate lines during the season? What is that?
Well, let's say you want to, hypothetically, let's say you want to bet the Chiefs -2.5 or 3, but you think they're really going to beat the Chargers by a lot. Say, I'm going to go into the bookmaker and I'm going to look and I'm saying, I'm going to lay 6. I might get 3-1 on that bet.
Yeah, plus, right?
Yeah. I might, instead of laying juice, I'll be getting 3-1 because I'm laying 6 instead of 3.
So this is it right here. Chiefs, Chargers, alternate spread. So it's 3.5. So go ahead. Where do you want it to go for?
Take 3, Greg. See what you get when you take 3. Or
well, that's an. I don't see that line anywhere. You're saying basically Chiefs -3.5, -102. I would never make that bet. That's a terrible.
Where do you want it to go, Mark?
I say, why don't you move that where you're seeing the Chiefs -3.5, and if you really, really like the Chiefs, what would it be at -6 or 6.5?
Let's go up in the other direction, -6, and see what it would be. Well, there is no -6; it's 6.5. How about 5.5?
How about 6.5 right here?
Yeah, and you're getting plus
138.
That's not enough. You're getting robbed. You're playing 6.5 and plus 138. That's highway robbery.
That's the whole.
That's more than that.
They strangle you to death with that.
Oh my God, that's a bad line.
Yes,
that's terrible.
Okay, so let's go to another game that we might. How about tonight's game?
Okay, we got that game as, let's say, 8.
See, it doesn't. Okay, let's see. No 8s.
Okay, so 7.5. Let's say. So if you lay 7.5 with 9, let's say 9, 7.5 Philadelphia -121. How about you go to 10.5 plus 110? These numbers are horrible.
No, that's not enough, Jim.
No, it's horrible.
No.
I mean, you're an extra 3. No.
What about if we took the dog plus 3.5 instead of the 8 right now? What would that be? You really, really like the dog. You like the Dallas's chances to win the game.
Plus 166.
Plus 166.
So they can still lose by 3. You cover, and you get 166.
And you don't have to play them to win the game on a money line that way, right?
So that's not bad. Because I was talking to RJ Showa.
What book are you looking at here?
DraftKings.
This is DraftKings. Yeah. I mean, so
the king of highway robber, the king should be the DraftKings of highway robber.
I'll tell you what, if you went to like Pinnacle or Bet Chris or something like these offshores, you'd be getting a lot better price, a lot better.
No
Well, I don't have accounts for those.
These are bad prices.
I don't know if any of the. I have to check and find out whether or not the book I use even has. I mean, I use Bovada and get this off. I use Bovada mainly, so I'm not sure. I have to check and see whether or not they. Let's see if they do it.
Well, Bovada has never been. I don't.
What I like about Bovada is I like the fact that I can do like. I can do like if I want to do something with futures, I can parlay them if I want, and you can't do that a lot with a lot of other sports books.
No, that's right. They're restricted most.
So that's why I like using Bovada, because as you know, I like futures. So that's why I like doing it. Okay, so let's go to football. Let's see. NFL, we were already on it. Okay, game lines.
They're also a very square book, Bovada, much like Bodog used to be.
So I don't see alternate lines here.
Yeah, you're right about that, Mark. Yeah.
Yeah. So it would have been here, right? If they had alternate lines.
Probably. I can't read it. It's
yeah.
too small.
They got first half, second half, quarter, team totals. That's it. So yeah, like I thought. So is that the case? Some sports books don't have it then, right?
Mark, when you and I started betting sports, the only thing you could bet was a side.
That's correct.
That was it. And then they brought in, I'm not sure what came first, the halftime bets or the totals.
The totals.
Okay. Totals.
And you had to pay a little more juice to bet the totals too. You could lay $1.10 to the game. You had to lay $1.20 if you wanted to bet the totals because it was novel and unique. So you had to pay a price.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
now,
anyway,
you see what they're doing with the teaser prices? Some places now, there used to be 110 or now 135.
Oh my God.
They're killing you. But that's Vegas. So,
well, are they 135 juiced, or are they 135 to open up with, and just you're going to play 135 on every one of those?
Just on the basic 2-team parlay, you're laying 135
on any 2-team parlay.
Yes.
Oh my God, that's highway robbery.
And some of like a 2-team parlay was a 6 point normally.
Yes.
Some of them taking it down to 5.
Wow.
It's bad. It's bad.
It's real bad.
You know what they're doing, actually? I mean, it's really stupid executive decisions, greed decisions. They're making everything worse for the player, and they're going to drive the business back offshore. And the offshore books are better anyway. I mean, I'm just telling you, in my opinion, they're better anyway. But
they are. But what they're going to end up doing, Jim, is they're going to live with that analogy that pigs eat but hogs die.
Yes.
And they keep charging prices like that, they're going to die. And like you say, they're going to drive them to offshore sports books or to a real legitimate legal sports book that gives you an honest shake, a fair chance to beat the game.
They did the same thing indirectly with horse racing when they overtaxed the pool.
Yes.
And it really destroyed the growth of horse racing. And it's it still survived, but it's not anywhere near where it should be.
And the same analogy holds true to both sports also, Jim. When they did that in horse racing and they're doing it now in football, the general public isn't even aware of what it is they're walking into. The real sharps are very, very aware of that. What sort of payouts you are getting at the horse race for their takeout. And, right now, what sort of prices you're paying on parlays and teasers, of which I don't get involved with any at all, but a lot of people do. And they're getting gouged, and the sharp people know and realize that, but the squares don't. And that's the reason these sports books continue to keep doing it.
What's a round robin?
Well, round robins, if you're going to bet a parlay, I always bet 3-team parlays, and I'll do them in round robins. Like, let's say I like 8 teams. I'll do a 3-team, eight. I'll take the 8 teams and I'll do it in 3-team parlays, all round robins. There's a multiplication. Andy knows how to multiply how many bets that would be, but he's not here.
So you have to win all 8 of them?
No.
You can win 1 or 2 as long as you touch the right ones in your round robin.
You're going to have every combination of 8 teams in a 3-team parlay, which there's a multiplier. It's like 50 some bets. So you might bet a $5 parlay but it'll be like 50 some bets. There's a number.
So
Andy knows the formula, how to do it. We talk all the time.
Okay.
I don't know the formula.
So there's a certain number of bets that you have to win in order for it to make a profit on.
Well, because you're getting paid, 3-team parlay, you're getting paid close to 7-1. It's a little under 7. It's like 6 1/4, 6 3/4, something like that. You don't have to bet. You don't have to win half. You just have to win like 3 out of the 8 teams, and you'll win. You'll be breaking even at least.
Okay. So an alternate. Okay, these are the total numbers. Okay.
But let me share with you guys here this from Andy's newsletter this week. I got his Logical Approach newsletter, and once again, always a great job he puts together there. And by the way, any of our listeners or viewers out there, you can call Andy, text him at 702-898-9802, thelogicalapproach.com on the website. And you can ask for a download copy of this week's newsletter. And, he kind of gets you all set for the season here. And one of the phrases that he uses, it really jumped off the page to me, is a team is never as good as it shows in its best performance or as bad as they look in their worst. And that you have to take that really, really to heart, because a lot of handicapping people knee-jerk and react to what just happened, what they just saw. Prices are adjusted and you're making the wrong mistake. And you learn a lot of that in Andy's newsletter. But where I'm going to with here this week, one of the things he called out in the newsletter was his Super Bowl odds at the Westgate in these exacta odds. And so if, for instance, you think it's going to be Baltimore and Detroit in the Super Bowl, and you're going to call right now Baltimore to beat Detroit, it's 50-1. You can cash on that. If they beat Green Bay, it's 45-1. If they beat the Rams, 70-1. Minnesota, 100-1. And it goes on and on with every team. You can do it with, with Buffalo, whatever teams you want. Detroit beats Baltimore, 60-1. So these are the sort of exotics that all tie into what we're referring to. We're talking in our conversation with Jim about alternate lines. You can also get alternate Super Bowl lines in what they would call exacta boxes or exacta odds.
So that sounds like it would be better if I like the Bills, instead of taking them at 6-1, I should go ahead and hey, if I like 4 or 5 teams I think they're going to face in the Super Bowl, just go that route.
Well, who do you like Buffalo to play in the Super Bowl?
Well, yeah. So let's say if you liked Buffalo to play in the Super Bowl, then you'd probably want to put them up against I don't know. What would you want? Philly, Detroit, Eagles, Green Bay.
Well, Philly's 30-1.
Yeah.
Detroit, Green Bay,
45-1. Green Bay 50-1.
Yeah, so there you go.
Bay 100-1. So you call the shot. If you're right, you're going to get paid handsomely. But that's also, remember, not only Buffalo getting to the Super Bowl, having to beat their opponent and beat this opponent, exactly this opponent. So it's a lot of long-range forecasting, if you will. But if you have a real good feel about that particular matchup, there's a lot of
the positive side to it is it's a nice payoff. The bad side to it is the books, first of all, they're holding your money for a long time.
Yes, they are.
Unless you're betting on credit. And the other thing is those odds are shaved probably is up to 30 or 40%. They're probably lower numbers what the real should be paying off. That's all part of what is referred to as the hold that the bookmakers takes. Correct.
And that's where, you really get reamed if you're not really on it. And that goes back again to what we referred to at the beginning of the show, what DraftKings does today, what Bodog did, what Bovada does today. So you're not really getting all the odds. It may look attractive for a payout. You're going to say, oh, wow, Baltimore beats Detroit 50-1. Let me have that. Well, even if it were that matchup, you're still not getting a true 50-1 in advance of all that. So it's really hard picking the winner of a game, let alone having a forecast down the road, who those two teams are going to be, who's going to win the game, and at what odds. So you almost need a computer to have to run all that through to find out what true value you're getting in those odds. And that's one of the main large reasons that I avoid parlays and teasers. I just try and keep it simple and keep what's happening in front of me. And, I'll handicap, I'd rather handicap a boxing match where there's 2 boxers in the ring and decide who's going to win that, rather than tease, parlay, and prop it all and everything like that. But that's just my way and style of handicapping football.
How surprised are you about? So the Packers now are They've jumped ahead of Detroit. Super Bowl futures. They're now 12-1 to Detroit's 14-1. Here's the thing that I was a little bit surprised about. So Green Bay is now considered 12-1 to win the Super Bowl, but yet their over is only 10.5. That seems like a really low line for a team that is only 12-1 to win the Super Bowl.
That's because of the division they're in. That they could easily lose a game to Chicago and
Yep.
the Vikings.
But you saw what happened last year. You had two teams that combined. What did they win? Like 28 games last year. The Detroit and Minnesota, first and second. And you're telling me Green Bay can't win 11 if they're supposed to? If you think they're going to win the Super Bowl?
Well,
now again, you're only getting plus 105 compared to.
It's the problem is that they play 6 games against their division opponents.
No, I understand that
they might split them, and because they're tough. It's a tough.
But
division.
do you think? All right. So do you think the Packers are going to go 10-7?
I think they'd do more than that.
Yeah, I mean, most people would. That's why I'm a little bit surprised.
What's their season win total right now, Greg? 10.5.
10.5.
Okay.
So I don't think that's moved.
I think that's if you have option. I think you should bet over that. I think they easily could win 11 or 12.
Yeah, you can go 2-1 on 11.
We really don't. I mean, I still like the Lions a lot, but we do not know if they can replace that center, offensive and defensive coordinators. And they're big questions, but they have a great roster. So if they didn't lose their offensive and defensive coordinator and their center, they would be a huge favorite over Green Bay.
I think they'd be
a better roster.
They'd be 6-1, like Baltimore and Buffalo, to win the Super Bowl.
Correct. Now, the Baltimore and Buffalo game is interesting. Buffalo, everybody says, is the best AFC team, and they should be to the Super Bowl. Everybody says that. However, they're a 1.5-point dog to Baltimore this week at home. So basically, all the players are basically saying Baltimore's the better team. They're favored on the road at Buffalo. The difference is Buffalo has a very weak schedule. And in the division, they're in a division with terrible teams. And Baltimore is in a division with tough teams. So that's how that comes into play. But in this one game, they're basically saying the Ravens are the better team.
You know, something that's a good point, Jim, you bring it up, because when I was putting our Playbook newsletter together this week, and, I'm finalizing the best bets, and that's the most attractive game on the card. It's probably a game of the year type caliber game. And I really like Baltimore in the football game, but do I want to use it as a best bet play, knowing that the move in the game is going to go to Baltimore? And at press time, when we went to press, the game was pick'em, and that moved off of Buffalo 1 or 1.5, and now it's going Baltimore's direction. So what if Sunday comes and Baltimore ends up being the favorite in the football game?
Well, they already are.
They are right now, exactly.
I look across the board; they're favored almost everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
So, this goes back to my analogy of being a dog lover. You in real life, me in handicapping the games. Now, do I like Baltimore now that they're favored in the football game as opposed to when they were the dog? Hence, that's the reason I did not elect to use the game as a star-rated best bet in the newsletter, because a game like this is volatile. It can go either way. And if the public goes to the sharps, it could end up moving quite a bit, which I think is happening here in a game like this. I think the public likes Baltimore. The sharps like Baltimore. Hence, we're seeing a move there that way.
The trouble is, Mark, the public doesn't bet this that much early in the week. And that's what confuses me. I know some of the people that bet Baltimore already, and they're pretty big players.
Yes.
And they're definitely of that small group of people that actually win pretty good money year after year after year. And they bet Baltimore. The public is going to say, how can Buffalo be a home dog when they're favored to be in the Super Bowl? So,
and they beat this team last year.
I don't know what the public's going to do, but you would think they'd want to come in on Buffalo. Now, there is the division, and Greg probably knows this better than anybody because he has all the contacts. He talks to everyone. And Buffalo does have some defensive injuries. And their defense is going to, in this particular game, is going to be much less efficient than Baltimore's defense is.
That's a great point. And I want to hammer that a little bit with you here, Jim. How much do the injuries come into play early in the week when these games are being bet by the sharps? You mentioned,
yes. Like, for example, I mentioned it earlier, the Chargers not having Slater on the offensive line is huge. That is a tremendous loss.
And you see it in the line, in the number.
Yeah, you do.
Yep.
I mean, Kansas City, we know the Super Bowl loser doesn't well, and they're in San Paulo playing this game on a neutral field. We don't know about the field conditions. They just played a soccer game there the other day. So we don't know. That's a different issue. But Kansas City, typically based on, and you know this better than anyone, the Super Bowl loser isn't going to do very well here, but they're a 3-point favorite. And the Chargers have this offensive line. We've never seen Herbert win a big game. We know that.
Right.
I mean, he can, baby. But he also had the worst coach with Staley, which, I mean, you can't blame him for that. So I think Herbert's much more talented than we ever saw from him when he had Staley there. So I think he's got a real upside. The problem is when you lose an offensive lineman like Slater, boy, that's a big hole to fill. And especially in quality coaches like Kansas City has, that's a big hole to fill.
So how do you think Jim Harbaugh attacks his game now, Jim, with Slater being out? He's going to be playing on a soupy field. Last year when they played there, it was murky to begin with. Now you say the soccer game played there. There's going to be a lot of slipping and sliding per se.
I don't know what that field's going to be like. I mean, it's a whole different animal.
It was never good when it was good. Okay?
No, it wasn't.
No.
I do believe the last time there was a game there, it flew over the total. Is that correct?
That was Philadelphia when they went there. I remember Howard Eskin telling me what a horrible condition it was to have to play in that game.
That's the game that Jordan Love got hurt. And we all know what kind of season he had after he got hurt. He was never the same.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So my question, though, Jim, is this. Does Jim Harbaugh, does he approach this game and say, okay, let me do what I do best. I run the ball down other people's throats. And I don't want to have to put the hands of Justin Herbert to win this game for us with this questionable line that we have. So if he does attempt to run the football a lot, let's say 35 times rushing attempts this football game, do you think that would be his game plan as opposed to trying to expose the Chiefs secondary just to run the football for the Chargers tonight?
If he doesn't get too far behind, he's going to stick to who Jim Harbaugh has always been, and that's a running coach.
Yes.
So if he can avoid getting down 2 scores to Kansas City, he'll stick with that. If he gets down 2 scores, he's going to have to do something different. And that's going to expose Herbert to being sacked a lot because that offensive line position is going to be tough to fill.
Tough.
This is going to be basically it's the same situation that the Chargers were in with their offensive line a couple of years ago before they drafted Alt. Drafting Alt really, it was supposed to really provide them an excellent offensive line, which is what Harbaugh wants. So he doesn't have the excellent offensive line. He's back to having just an average offensive line. So I think the other good thing is that it was done a month ago and he's had a month to prepare for it. This is what he's going to have to deal with the entire season. It's not about one game. And that's why I agree with you, Jim, is that this is what Jim Harbaugh does. He's not going to start throwing the ball 50 times in the game. You spent his first round draft pick on a running back for a reason. Let's remember that. Last year, his first year, I mean, he didn't really have these types of running backs. I mean, Marion Hampton, that kid's the real deal. I mean, he's got that kid, he's one of these running backs that can go 80 yards if you give him just a little bit of an opportunity. So that's what we're going to see. And then what will be interesting is seeing Herbert's first game after that playoff game. So this is is going to see how he reacts. And let's keep in mind too that this series, even though the Chiefs have won 7 straight, the last 3 in the series has only been decided by a total of 10 points. So 3 points, and we know the Chiefs too, 5-13-1 against the spread in their last 19 division games, 0-5-1 against the spread in their division games last year. The only tie was the Chargers game. So because of that, I take the points, especially if I can get 3.5.
Oh, weren't the Chargers a perfect 5-0-1?
Yes, they were.
To the spread against division teams, right?
Yeah.
So that they kind of collide and mesh together tonight in this football game. So we're going to see. It's my feeling. I've shared this before. I think the Chiefs will not even win the division this year. More or less of a regression factor here. The fact that they've won so many one-score football games. I think they have a string running. I don't know if it's 14 or 15 in a row or something to that effect. But I think it comes back to bite them this year. And if this Slater injury hadn't occurred, Alt moves over to left tackle, which is where he played at Notre Dame, I believe. Am I right there, Greg?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
he ends up fitting like a glove in that position. So it depends upon who they fill into the right tackle, as to whether or not how much of a transition will be for this offensive line. But Harbaugh is a master at controlling the ball and running the football. And as I alluded to before, it all depends. If you want to profit in the National Football League, just find the teams that have the largest amount of rushing attempts per game and watch and see what they do. The top 4 teams in the National Football League were all in the playoffs, and they all were point spread winners. And I look for the Chargers to be one of those teams this year.
Now, the total in this game, Mark, is open 44.5. It's up to 46.5. Now, if he can run the ball, which we think we know that's what he's going to try to do. We don't know that he'll be successful because we don't talk about the other side with Spags as being one of the best, if not the best, defensive coordinators in the business. He also knows he's going to try to run the ball. So what's he going to do to stop it and still put pressure on Herbert? But that total going up, doesn't that kind of confuse you? It confuses me.
It does me too, Jim. Yes.
Maybe it has to do with what you were saying. Maybe they're looking at previous games at this location. You do have to keep in mind too, the Chiefs are going to be starting a rookie left tackle. So we talk all about the Chargers offensive line. Well, flip it. And we all know what happened to the Chiefs offensive line in the Super Bowl. They went out and got themselves a rookie first-round draft pick. So how is he going to play in his first game? Also keep in mind, if you want to beat the Chiefs, you want to play them early. There's no Rashee Rice until almost midseason, 8 games, something like that. Because he'll be back game 6, 7, whatever it is. But it'll take him another week or 2 to kind of get into a flow of things. So if you want to play the Chiefs, you want to play them early. And the other thing too is they had a couple of injuries along their defensive front. And we know how good Chris Jones is. But the fact is that at defensive tackle, that would be a position that you need to really keep an eye on for Kansas City, because they were so desperate to improve that spot that they picked up Derek Nottie from the Jets in a trade. Jets had signed Derek Nottie from the Chiefs. And I had watched, of course, the Jets in the preseason and camp and everything. And boy, was Derek Nottie bad. I mean, I think they might have cut him. He was just awful. He just, what is it? Maybe he was going to a different team for the first. I don't know what it was, but that guy was not playing well. They're so desperate that the Chiefs traded back to get Natty back on the team, and Natty could start. And their second-round draft pick is banged up, and that was a guy that they had high aspirations on to get serious starting playing time, and that's the reason they're desperate to bring in Natty. So the Chargers running game, they're going to try to run it right up the gut. And I think they might be able to have an advantage there. So I know Chris Jones is in that position, but he doesn't have some really good players alongside of him or behind him.
Hey, guys, let's do this. Speaking about the Jets, let's hit on 2 or 3 other big games in the card here before Jim has to leave us. I want to get his opinion on some big football games this weekend. The first being Pittsburgh at the New York Jets. This will be the return of Aaron Rodgers going back home where the Jets laid out all that cabbage, only to watch him suffer a torn Achilles heel and never play a game for the Jets other than the one play. He goes back home now, a 40-year-old quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers here. Jim, what's your take on the Jets and the Steelers this week? Are we going to see an improved Jets team, an improved Steelers team, and will Aaron Rodgers be the quarterback he was before in the past, or will we see a 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers?
Well, I don't think we're ever going to see Aaron Rodgers in his prime. But when I talk to people and listen to people, pretty much everybody says he might very well be the best passing quarterback that's ever played the game. He's that good. And he knows the game, and he reads defenses very well. And we know that Tomlin, even though he doesn't produce fantastic teams, he finds ways to win. That's and now you got Glenn, the coach. I like Aaron Glenn coming over as the head coach for the Jets. However, he's never been a head coach. So we also know when they go from a coordinator to head coach, they don't always perform right away. Fields has never been a monster success, although his talent is amazing. He's never been able to turn it into being what everybody thought he could be. Personally, I look at this game and I think that it's an underplay. I think the Jets defense and the Pittsburgh defense will dominate the game in both ways. I don't think you'll see a wide open Pittsburgh offense. I know you're not going to see a wide open Jets offense because that's not who Fields is. But he can run the ball, but he's never been great at throwing. He's got the arm. He's just not that accurate. But in Pittsburgh, I don't think you want to put Rodgers in a position where he's going to get hit a lot because he is older. So I think you're going to see a lot of balls on the ground. I think you're going to see a lot of plays on the ground. And I like the fact that the game opened 39.5, which I bet it under when it did that. And it went down to 38.5, 37.5 in some spots like FanDuel right now. So I like it under. I don't know what about the side. Pick the winner. I would have to favor Pittsburgh, but I'm not going to lay 2.5 or 3 with them.
Greg, I know that you're a big Jets fan, and I know you really like the hire of Aaron Glenn for this football team. Do you think he gets them up for this football game and gets out in style with a win in this first football game tonight, or do the Jets continue to struggle?
I kind of get the feeling. I agree with Jim. It'll be lower scoring, and therefore one of those games that'll come down to something happening defensively. But I do kind of get the feeling that motivation, that momentum that Aaron has, I also think it will probably serve him well in this first game, especially because of the fact that unlike most of the other teams in the NFL, he has learned to do this and do it well, and that is get his team ready to tackle earlier in the in preseason, earlier in training camp than most other teams. So they're more ready for that physical contact that you get in week one and early week games. Matter of fact, I was looking at it when he was in his.
We don't hear him anymore.
Did we lose Greg there?
Greg, we can't hear you.
That was weird.
Oh, there
you go.
Yeah, we lost your voice.
Wow. Okay.
Whatever you said there, we didn't hear it.
Or StreamYard didn't like one or the other.
Did you lose everything, or did it just go out?
Just what you said.
The last 2 minutes, we didn't hear you.
Yes.
Okay. The whole thing that I was saying?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that was weird. I never touched it. All right. So anyway, I kind of do. I agree with Jim. I think that it's going to be a lower scoring game. I do think that Aaron Glenn and the motivation and his team is going to rally behind that. I think that's going to serve him well. I think it'll be a lower scoring game. I also looked at some stats when Aaron Glenn was a coordinator the last 4 years with Detroit. And this was even a year before Campbell came on. The team that he was coaching was 9-3 against the spread in the first 3 games of the season. And I think that, again, has a lot to do with tackling earlier than most teams, being prepared for that physicality earlier in the season than most teams. So I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt with that, especially early on. I don't expect Aaron Rodgers to be zinging it all over the place. He needs time to develop chemistry with his players, his offense, which is completely new to him. and I think it's going to take time. So yeah, I'll lean towards the Jets, but it's nothing like I would necessarily tell anybody to go run to the bank and make a wager. That's for sure. The Jets have won their last 2 openers. Pittsburgh 5-0 straight up and against the spread in their last 5 road openers.
I'm with you, Greg. I like the Jets side of the football game as well. Nothing strong, but just an opinion play. And you mentioned Campbell. Remember when he was a head coach and at least an interim to start down here in Miami, and he was sort of gruff and really hard to like. And I got the feeling down here like he was the last guy that would have really been the guy to pass an interview to be a head coach. But he's formed a different opinion now of myself, and that goes to prove that sometimes what you form an opinion about on whether it's a player or a team or whatnot in the beginning can totally be wrong. And it appears right now that Campbell has been a successful head coach. He's a motivator with the Detroit Lions, and he's really made this huge move with them. Now they're going to go into Green Bay for their football game on Sunday, Jim, with the Micah Parsons trade in place for the Packers. The line has moved a little bit to Green Bay. I don't know if it's largely because of that, or is it because of a feeling of the game to the handicap? But who are you looking at, Packers or Lions in that game, Jim?
Well, the odds did change a lot, long term and short term, when they got Parsons. It really knocked down Dallas and it boosted Green Bay.
It was a point both ways, right, Jim? I think the Packers were 1.5.
I'm talking about the Super Bowl odds, the playoff odds, all that kind of stuff. It was pretty massive. I mean, I think Dallas dropped like eight positions in their positions to get to the playoffs. It was really a big drop, and it might have been an over adjustment. I don't know. We'll see. But this is the question mark here. I don't know if Detroit can hold up with the 3 major losses that they had. They're still a very good team. They still have a very good roster. But losing Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, and Ragnow at center, boy, I tell you, it's a lot of stuff to replace, and they're all really talented. So it's not like we're just replacing a person. It's replacing a real talented person in all 3 positions. I don't know. But they are at Green Bay. Green Bay has a good home record. I would probably, and this is one of those situations, you all know that I've said this before, if I'm going to bet Green Bay, it's going to be a money line on Green Bay.
Yeah, anything at 3 or less.
I will not be laying the points.
Right. Green Bay just to win the game on a money line.
Correct.
Greg, how are you looking at this football game? Packers, Lions, which way are you going?
Well, I think the motivation I was talking about with Aaron Glenn and the Jets, same thing with Green Bay. But then, because that's the only thing, I was all over Detroit before the trade. And I'm still not sure I'm going to change my mind. And that is because Detroit is 6-1 straight up in their last 7 against the Packers. They swept them last year. They've won the last 4 actually, they've been favored in the last 4, and now they're an underdog. Remember, they were an underdog before the Parsons trade. Throw in the fact that we know how good of a spread king Dan Campbell is. He's now 38-15-2, which is remarkable. The Packers were also just 1-5 straight up, 0-5-1 ATS in the division last year. So all of this was telling me, well, why is Detroit an underdog? I mean, I'm taking Detroit. Absolutely. 100% love Detroit. Now the Parsons trade and all of this, you got to feel it's really going to put a fire under the Packers. I'm still going to lean Detroit, but I agree where Jim's coming from, especially with Ragnow, because we have no idea how they're going to react. I will say this, though, is that the Packers, they did trade Kenny Clark. I think he was going to leave anyway after the season. But that's the one part of the Packer defense that is a big mystery, is their weakness, is the defensive tackle position. So maybe that's something in this game Detroit's not going to have to worry about. So maybe that matchup is not something I concern myself too much with. The other thing, if you're a Packer fan, Matt LaFleur, 6-0, straight up and against the spread in season openers.
Well, good number.
We do have a question we should ask. We should bring this up about the Packers. Nobody really knows how good Love is.
I think you're right on that. There's an opinion been formed since he was being molded, like Aaron Rodgers in his career was molded to fill in for Brett Favre, and Jordan Love has done just that. But we don't know today, exactly like you say, Jim, how good he is.
Right. It's really a mystery.
Remember, let's keep in mind that when he had that tremendous run at the end of the 2023 season,
correct,
and we all, thought 2024, wow, look for the Packers. They're going to be great. And then what happened? We just talked about it. Week 1, he gets the injury. He is not the same the entire year. And then they had the injuries in the wide receiver. That was a big issue, which is the reason they went out and drafted Matthew Golden, who, by the way, has looked awesome. Matthew Golden, the wide receiver for the Packers, is going to be a huge, huge part of that offense. And it's perfect fit for Jordan Love because that will help the Packers stretch the field, something they could not do with Christian Watson out, because that was Christian Watson's role. Now Watson comes in, he can do that role. And I think that's Matthew Golden, and I think that's going to help them big time. So yeah, this is going to be, I think, the opportunity now for Jordan Love to be 100% healthy again and to show everybody, can he be that player that we thought he was going to be after that playoff season in 2023?
Well, I'm going to lean to the Packers in the game as well, not so much for the trade. I think the trade's only icing on the cake as far as talent is concerned for the Packers. But they were winless against the division, against the spread last year, one of those teams. But I can see a big mental effort by them. Their whole look at this season here has changed with that trade with Micah Parsons. And they do have a big double revenge chip on their shoulder. Detroit took them out twice last year. I think this game is really huge for the Green Bay Packers to get off on the right foot.
Yeah, true.
And let's wrap it up before we let Jim go with the Monday night football game. And we got a pretty good little Monday night football game here. Minnesota, Chicago in the NFC North. The Minnesota Vikings, Jim, coming in here rather thin at the wide receiver position. Chicago with the new head coach and Ben Johnson. Do you think the Bears get out and make a statement in this football game, or does Minnesota improve on that 14-win season that I don't think anybody realized they had last year?
Well, Sam Darnold was amazing last year. The head coach did a great job putting him together. And until the last 2 games that they played, I don't know what to expect from J.J. McCarthy at this level. Yeah, we all know in college is one thing, and getting to the next level is a whole nother thing. Players are bigger, stronger, faster. You got to make decisions that you never had to make in college because you were playing against inferior players. A lot of times you're not doing that. Caleb is the other mystery here. Yes, drafted number 1. Williams has all the talent in the world, got sacked 68 times last year, holds on to the ball too long, plays outside the system, which, by the way, is driving Johnson crazy that he does that, and they're trying to tame him down. Whether he will ever learn and wheel himself back in to play within the structure, we don't know because he hasn't done it.
Right.
So, the talent is there, but up between the ears, I'm not sure it's between the ears because he just doesn't seem to change. But there is a new leader in town, Johnson. And believe me, Caleb is in trouble here. If he doesn't produce, he may not be a starting quarterback in the NFL any longer.
Well, the one edge I think he brings in this game, Jim, would be the experience factor. I mean, he's got a couple of years at least under his belt in this league, and McCarthy's making his debut.
Correct.
So, he's been there, sort of not done it to the degree or level that people were expecting. But nonetheless, I think he's got a good head coach and an offensive coordinator type coach in Johnson, I think, to help get him on the right path. Greg, how do you see the Vikings and the Bears?
Well, a lot may depend on whether Jefferson is going to be ready to go. There's been conflicting reports on that. So I know by the time we do the show tomorrow, the Pigskin Friday show tomorrow, I'll have an update because Adam Patrick, who follows the Vikings for us, I'm going to get some information from him to see what he has to say. But let's also keep in mind that the Vikings have a very good defense. That's the reason why I think they're still an underrated team this year. They're a complete team. Throw in the fact that if you look at it as a road favorite under head coach Kevin O'Connell, the Vikings are 8-4-4 against the spread. They're also 5-1 straight up versus the Bears under O'Connell. And O'Connell, let's see. If you look at it, the Vikings are 3-0 straight up and against the spread in the first true road game roll of the season. It's only 1.5. I know some people who thought the Bears might even be a favorite in this one. I actually think it should have been the other way. I think this should have been a 2.5, 3-point spread for the Vikings. I mean, they were clearly a much better team than the Bears last year. I know the Bears are going to be better, but I don't see the Vikings being a lot worse. So I just think Vikings are a better team, and I'll take Minnesota.
Jim, are you seeing Minnesota favored in this football game as we speak right now?
Well, they have first of all, they have a proven head coach. That's one. They have a better roster. They have as good a roster as just anybody in the 32 teams in football. Their roster is excellent. Chicago has more holes and more questions than the head coach we don't know about at this level. But the quarterback for Chicago does have a year experience, and that's huge. He did produce not too bad. His stats were not terrible. He held the ball too long, got sacked 68 times, which is a lot. But you can see some positive regression. I don't think that Minnesota should be favored in the game. I mean, 1.5 is not enough to say, okay, you're going to cover the dog as a dog. That's not going to work. But who's going to win the game?
I'm interested to know, though, why do you say that?
Because you have an unproven rookie quarterback, and you do not take an unproven rookie quarterback and favor him on the road against a division rival. It is suicide to do that.
Yeah, tough place to open on the road.
Suicide.
Right.
Well, he's not a rookie, but I see your point.
He definitely is a rookie. He hasn't played a down in the NFL.
No, he can't win Rookie of the Year. But I see what you're saying.
That's not a valid argument.
But I see what you're saying.
Played it down in the NFL.
No, because I do think there is a major difference between a quarterback sitting around for a full season, learning what's going on, how to be an NFL player, getting practice reps, all that I think all of that matters compared to just a rookie coming in and throwing him right out there.
That is true.
So, and I also believe in JJ McCarthy and O'Connell. I think McCarthy has done this all the way back since high school. He's a winner. He did that at Michigan. That's all he is. He may not be the sexiest quarterback, but the guy is a winner. He's smart. He does the right things, and he's very well coached, as we both know. And again, the two teams were so far apart last year. I don't know, but it is week one. Anything can happen week one.
Well, let me say this, guys. In my Bet You Didn't Know column in this week's Playbook newsletter right here, you can get it at playbooksports.com. It's all about how Monday Night Football teams do in week one of the season here. We did an exhaustive study. You'll be surprised at what you learn. It'll obviously point to the winner of this football game between Minnesota and Chicago. Check that out in the newsletter at playbooksports.com.
Before you go, Jim, one of our viewers posed this question, and this has something that maybe you would answer along with Victor on your show tomorrow. Would that be correct?
We could do that.
I mean, you can answer it now if you, because Josh did ask the question. We don't need to.
Is he asking if Jalen Hurts as?
What do you think of Jalen Hurts over 0.5 touchdown, Lamb over 0.5 touchdown, and AJ Brown over 68.5 receiving?
I think positive on all of those. All of them are over bets.
Okay. And this is the sort of stuff that you do talk about, though, when you talk with Victor tomorrow.
Josh, thank you for the question. I would say yes. They're all over bets.
That'll be a real good show. Victor and Jim tomorrow doing NFL totals and props here on ProLine TV. You don't want to miss or pass that one up. Jimmy, I'm going to let you go. I know you're really jonesing, as am I, as is our audience, for the start of this National Football League season to begin. You're all about the NFL, and I really appreciated having you on the show here this week, and I look forward to joining you and Greg every Friday as we do a review. I have to beg out tomorrow. I'll start a week from Friday. You and Greg will pick it up tomorrow here on ProLine TV.
All right, thank you very much. Good being on the show. Good luck with the rest of it with college, and good luck this weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you so much.
See you tomorrow, Jim.
That was Jim Feist, the legend himself from Las Vegas, joining us for the first half of our Against the Spread podcast show here. Next, we're going to move on to the college football side of things. But before we do, I want to remind our listeners out there to please remember to hit the like button and subscribe. Also, ring the bell if you do on the broadcast here. It'll mean a whole lot to us. Hit the like button, subscribe, and ring that bell. We'd really, really be appreciative of that. So, Greg, what do you say you and I take a look at this college football card coming on tap this week? It's week number, if you will, take a look at it, 2 college football, really technically 3 with week 0, but nonetheless, it is what it is. Not so many marquee games this week. I mean, we had an abundance of them last week, but not so many here. If you're taking a look, I'm going to ask you, what would be the marquee game on the card this week in your eyes, Greg, that you would see?
Wow. What would be the
wow, it's a tough question.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I've even just maybe Michigan, Oklahoma.
Maybe.
Because the freshman who looked fine by me against weak competition, though. But he's a true freshman, and I thought he looked fine. And now they got to play Oklahoma. Venables knows what he's doing. And they've actually been a pretty decent home favorite, Venables. So it's not like that it's a bad spot for them. But this is a big game for especially Oklahoma. I mean, Oklahoma's big season for Venables and the team. So you got to think they're going to be jacked up. I mean, I don't even know if Michigan's ever been in Oklahoma. It's a rare road game for them, but it's good. It's good for the sport. So
yeah, it is good for the sport. John Mateer, new quarterback for Oklahoma, he's going to end up putting up a lot of yards and making a lot of noise this football season. Yeah. He was the #1 college football transfer quarterback that came out in the transfer portal this year, and I think he's going to do some good things and help steer this Oklahoma program back to where it needs to be this football season here. I also want to make mention here, and I got to give a little bit of due to one of the fellows that writes our college football portion of the Playbook Football Magazine. The guy has a tremendous wit. His name is Dave Lamont. He used to call games on ESPN, play-by-play broadcaster. And I'm going to share with our listeners out there a couple of great lines from the playbook that he wrote on a few college football games this week. One of them, he was talking about Clemson and Troy and how Dabo Swinney just passes over what happened, says everything's going to be fine, so forth and whatnot, just a positive spin that Dabo Swinney's all about. And Dave happened to say there's a bit of bruising around the edges of this banana when you're talking about Dabo Swinney, because he doesn't ever want to refer to anything that's negative when it comes to a football team.
Well, one of the things I think that Clemson, from a lot of the teams that like Alabama, that's a completely different animal about what's going on there.
For sure.
Because I don't think any of us expected it. And it's not about them losing the game. I mean, I was actually fine with the loss. It wasn't until all of a sudden I started hearing everything that happened afterwards. And then all of a sudden everybody starts telling you what was going on before the game, how the players have basically been allowed to do all sorts of crazy stuff. The culture, it's just that's I think the problem, where now it's like, forget it. I want nothing to do with Alabama right now as far as being, a championship type of pick. But Clemson, they had a little bit of an excuse, and maybe not a little one, but I think it was important that their #1 big time player on offense didn't play. So that means something, but it also shows you that the problem with Clemson is their depth. It showed its ugly head last year with their running situation when they had nobody to run the football. So they bring in a wide receiver, Randall, to run the ball. And they like that so much that he is now their starting running back this year. But I don't know if that's a positive, to tell you the truth. But the point is it shows you that, and this is what happens when you don't go down to the portal like of other teams, even though we did it a little bit this past offseason. You have one or two big injuries to a couple of key players, and Clemson just does not have the depth. And you saw that in the game against LSU.
For sure. Another good game on tap this week in the Big 12 Conference. Not the Big 12. It'll be actually a SEC Big 12 matchup. Kansas at Missouri. And these were two teams that were rivals in the same conference from years back. And it was in 2011 when Missouri bolted the conference and went to the SEC. And Dave said about that particular move by Missouri, they left to raise the collective GPA of the Southeastern Conference. They needed some intelligence in that conference, and that's what Missouri brought to the league. as far as Kansas is concerned this year, I think we've got a really, really under the radar sleeper type team.
Maybe.
Yes, we do. I mean, this Jalen Daniels is the real deal. They're putting up numbers like they expected to be. It appears to be healthy this football season.
Yeah,
here.
that's important.
Yes, it is. And there was no true stick out, Greg, in the Big 12 conference this year. I don't think there was a hands down team to beat in the conference this year. And Kansas could end up being that team if they continue to play as good as Jalen Daniels has played. What do you think about Kansas and Missouri this week?
Well, I know it wasn't a great first game, but I don't really care about that. I think Arizona State, a little bit sluggish in their opener, might have been looking towards the Mississippi State game this week. But I do think Arizona State should be looked at after they won the championship last year. And I think they got enough returning this year that they should be in my mind, they should be the team that is looking for that Big 12 opponent in the championship game, which I think is completely wide open. As far as Kansas, maybe they can be that team because we were looking for Jalen Daniels to be this player last year. Last year was a big year. They had more talent on the team last year. They had Devin Neal in the backfield last year, but Daniels wasn't completely healthy, and that was poor timing. Now he's healthy. He doesn't have the talent he had last year, but it hasn't mattered so far. But again, they haven't played Missouri yet. They haven't played an SEC team yet. And I think Missouri is another team that could be a sleeper in the SEC. I think they were like 60-1 or something like that to win the conference. And Eli Drinkwitz is a very good coach. We know that. They bring in the kid Prabula from Penn State. And I love the running back, Ahmad Hardy. He was a true freshman last year for Louisiana Monroe, had a really big season, but of course nobody paid any mind because he was on Louisiana Monroe. So now he transfers to Missouri. I think he's going to have a big factor in Missouri this season. So I really think this is one of the better games that you want to watch this week, because I'd probably just take the points because I think it could go either way. And anytime I think that way, I will always take the points. But yeah, I like both of these teams, and I think this should be a really good football game.
You know, one of the head-scratching things that happened in college football in my mind last year was whatever happened to Oklahoma State, a football program that brought, like close to 20 starters back, number 3 in overall returning production, and they just completely fell off a cliff last football season here. Like I said before, I don't know what was in the lunch, the Kool-Aid that they drank, but it was poison, and they ended up not being anything close to what they were supposed to be. Now this year, they're bringing 62 new players and a whole new coaching staff in effect in the Stillwater this particular season here this year. And they're going to go to Oregon this week. Is this a bad spot, you think, Greg, for Oklahoma State to tackle Oregon in this football contest?
Not necessarily, because if you're going to play Oregon, play him early. Dante Moore is still a young quarterback, and I think he's got ability because he's now in a situation where he doesn't have to act like he's got the world on his shoulders. When he went as a 5-star quarterback, Chip Kelly, UCLA, so much expected, and it just didn't happen. It was not good. Chip Kelly leaves, Dante Moore transfers. He had a whole year last year basically to kind of regroup. Now he's the man. They didn't play anybody last week, but, I liked what I saw. It looked comfortable, but now he's got to play a little bit better team here in Oklahoma State. I will say this, that Oklahoma State, looking at your magazine, they have covered 7 straight on the road versus non-conference opponents. Nice. So this is the magazine that you could still order, the playbook, Mark Lawrence's playbook. And this is where you get all sorts of really great trends, stats, and historical information that'll help you out in handicapping these games. Not sure what they were last year, because, again, we're talking about non-conference away. So it looks like they were on the road once and they covered. And this was actually one of their only wins of the season. It was actually their last win of the season when they covered and beat Tulsa on the road. So Tulsa's not Oregon. It's a lot of points. What is it, like 4 touchdowns or something like that? Yeah. So I don't know. Talent-wise, Oregon probably can win this game and hit that number, I should say. But I would take the points. I still don't know what Oregon is either. They lost so much from last year's team that I'm willing to believe that maybe Oklahoma State can at least keep it a game where it's something like, I don't know, 27-7, something like that.
You know what I'm seeing a little bit more this week, and I don't know if it's because of the schedule or the lack of depth in the schedule, but we're seeing a little bit more now, these smaller schools hosting some of the big boys. And it's usually always been the other way around. Where you'll find a small school always traveling to the big guy, taking a paycheck, getting in, getting out, getting clobbered, and settling for just that. You got a couple of games on tap this week where the little guy is hosting the big guy, and I think it's interesting to see. One of them is Charlotte, going to play host to North Carolina. Now, not that North Carolina is a big guy, but he is a Power 4 program, and Bill Belichick is head coach of that football program, and they're going to go into little old Charlotte this particular week. And it's always been my opinion that these little guys will step up and give everything they've got against their big brother in football games like this. What do you think, Greg, North Carolina at Charlotte this week?
Well, it's so funny how everybody just jumped all over Bill Belichick a couple of days ago. I mean, how predictable. It's look, all you had to do was look at the talent. We all knew it, and we all still know it. They don't have any talent right now. It's a complete rebuild there. It's going to take a couple of years before he can get that team to respectability. So if anybody was expecting magic or something, or if anybody thought that if a better coach could have done better, I'm sorry, but they just you saw the quarterback for North Carolina. That guy is not a Power 4 quarterback. Come on. So, but this is Charlotte, and I know they have the Ohio head coach. It was a nice hire for Charlotte, but they just didn't look very good at all as well against Appalachian State. So this is one of those games that I would definitely not wager on. But what's the spread right now?
You're seeing, I know North Carolina was a double-digit favorite, 14 going into the game.
Yeah, so to tell you the truth, that's not a lot. I think Tim Albin is also in a rebuilding mode at Charlotte. So if I was going to take the game, I take North Carolina. There's still a Power 4 team against a Group of 5 team, and that Group of 5 team is just not very good. So I do like it. With your point, though, Mark, I like that these schools are giving the little guys an opportunity to go there. I'm sure it's a home and home where you get to go to the little guy and give the little guy an opportunity to sell out. And, the community probably really gets up for something like this, especially since it's an in-state. It's the big boys of North Carolina coming into little old Charlotte to play our team. So, yeah, I love it. How can you not love stuff like that in college football?
And then you got another game that's got a little bit of an intrigue to me is another sort of a mismatch with the Power 4 team against a low-rung Group of 5 team. Wisconsin going to play host to Middle Tennessee State. Now, Middle Tennessee State was upset as a 15-point favorite last week against what our writer called, he doesn't refer to him as Austin P. He refers to him as Austin, the fly is open, let's go, P.
Nice visual.
Yes, bad visual. But does Wisconsin get up for a team like this, or does a team that was just embarrassed as Middle Tennessee State was as a double-digit 15-point favorite come and play? Does Wisconsin play down to their level? That's my question.
I'm still not anywhere near impressed with Wisconsin. I mean, how can you be after last week's performance? They had like 3 points for almost an entire. I don't even know if they scored more than 3 after the first half. But it's not going well at Wisconsin. That week 1 game did not change my impression. So I know Middle Tennessee unexpectedly lost like they did because, we both kind of felt that, Derek Mason has done a really nice job at Vanderbilt, and this is Middle Tennessee, and they could really use the second season. So it's not his first. So you would expect some improvement. But losing to Austin P, any FCS team is just not good. But Austin P actually is a pretty good FCS team. And really, honestly, I think Middle Tennessee probably, if you put them in the FCS right now with their talent, probably be just like Austin P. Austin P probably be better than them, tell you the truth, talent-wise. So there's still obviously a long way to go for Derek Mason. But I'm not putting money on Wisconsin right now in any game unless I see some improvement. And so far, I have not seen that.
Okay, before we get out of here, Greg, I'm going to put you on the spot. I'll answer this. I'll ask you the same question here. What underdog do you see pulling an upset this week that would not surprise you?
Underdog role that would not surprise me. Well, Kansas for one, because in college, I think you should be at least a 6-point dog to be an underdog. I know in the NFL, I think you could be 3.5, 4, something like that. But I think college, you have to at least be a touchdown dog. So I think Kansas right off the bat would be a good one. Michigan also is right about 6 points, 5.5, 6. So I'd throw them in there. I am very interested to find out how South Florida rebounds after that big win against Boise State. And we talked about that game last week. And this was going to be a great opportunity for South Florida against Boise State. And now South Florida has a chance, a realistic chance, if they can have a good season, to be representative of the group of 5 in the playoff. And now they got a test against Florida, and I think they play Miami next week. So now I'm not saying they're going to win, but I just think it's going to be interesting to see what kind of a game that they have. I think the easy way out would be to say Kansas and Michigan based on the points. What about you? Have you seen any? I mean, I think another one I was intrigued with, I just noticed would be, I'm not sure I'm going to take them, but I'm a little bit intrigued with is Rice against Houston. Because Rice had a nice little upset against Louisiana last week. And let's keep in mind, their head coach has come from the FCS, and he runs a option offense, meaning they're going to run like Navy and Air Force type of offense, which is rare. So it doesn't give you time to prepare. And I know Houston beat Houston like a couple of years ago. It's a local kind of rivalry situation. They are at home. So maybe as a double-digit dog, maybe I would look at Rice.
That's kind of strange you mentioned that. I was mentioned that game to my wife before we're getting ready to go to print. And I said, this is really a battle of Houston. She says, really? Both of those programs are in Houston? And I said, yeah. And she said they should call it the Joel Osteen Bowl.
Oh, that might actually be a good idea for Joel.
Yes, it would.
He can go out halftime.
Yeah.
Put on a show.
Yeah, you can put on another show. My wife's a big fan of his because he's a positive motivator here. And
yeah.
He's also worth about $50 million. But
yeah, he could afford it.
Yes, he could. Yes, he could. He could probably buy one of those universities.
You should have a bowl and put together at the end of the season, sort of like what you do with the military bowls, where if Rice is bowl eligible, they go to the Joel Osteen Bowl, something like that. That would be cool. I'd go watch.
That would be nice. I'm going to look college football this week. In the newsletter here, our Smart Box column, we have a feature. It's called Bowler Blues. And what it's all about is you look to fade college football teams in game 2 if they lost game 1, if they were in a bowl game last year. And basically what happens is they come out flat. You think that they kind of want to make an improvement, but they don't. Something's wrong. There was a fly in the ointment that happened last week, but most often than not, these teams that were bowlers last year that lost in game 1 come out and really struggle in game 2. You're going to see some big boys on the card this week, and I'm going to share this with our listeners out there. Alabama one, Clemson another one. You're going to also find next week Notre Dame will be in that particular role. Laid eggs as favorites doing just that. But there's another smaller guy out here that I'm going to fade this week for my underdog that wouldn't surprise me type play, and that's I'm going to play Texas State plus the points against UTSA against Texas San Antonio. And this is really a matchup of two coaches that I really, really admire. They both do terrific jobs. Jeff Traylor does, and G.J. Kinney does a great job with Texas State. And what I'm going at, my angle here, is that last week was a huge game for Texas San Antonio. They went into Texas A&M, and they battled them really hard. Yeah. They got away in the yardage. They were really, really impressive. They brought the money home in that football game. Now they're going to have to try and get back up for little old Texas State, who obviously is a much better football team than people give them credit for. And this G.J. Kinney can coach. He was a former quarterback, and he's perhaps one of the most under-the-radar group of 5 coaches in college football. And if he has his way and he does well this year, he will not be a group of 5 coach any much longer here. That's my upset special. Texas State plus the points over UTSA.
Yeah, they have, let's see, they've split the last 2 years. Texas State last year, they got walloped. UTSA won that game 49 to, no, actually it's the opposite. That was Texas State walloped UTSA 49 to 10. So maybe there's a little bit of payback there. Here's the thing that concerns me though. And this is only for the money line. The Roadrunners are 29-3 at home under Jeff Traylor.
Yeah,
So,
pretty strong, and it's
yeah.
really kind of a short number. It's not a big, huge margin, that you have to kind of get under here. And I agree with that analogy there. And I'll throw another one out either that I would look twice at would be the Duke Blue Devils at home against Illinois.
Yeah. Were you surprised that line was only 3.5? As much as I like Duke, and we've talked about them as a nice little sleeper.
I am too.
And
I thought we were going to see something close to the 5 or 6.
yeah.
But we haven't, because Duke has played some pretty gritty football. Manny Diaz has got them playing pretty good right now.
Yep.
And this is an Illinois football team that's getting a lot of ink, a lot of publicity here. They brought a ton of people back last year, but Duke is doing nothing wrong. And this is kind of what I would call a season maker for the Duke Blue Devils here. They can win this game, go into the ACC with a lot of confidence in a football game like this. I think that's got upset trap written all over it as well.
Let's see. Illinois, at least under Brett Bielema, they are 3-0 as a road favorite. So that's a good sign for Illinois in this one. Duke, meanwhile, was 2-0 as a dog at home dog at home last year. And again, I think the thing that really sticks out as far as I'm concerned with this Duke team, why I think they could be a really good sleeper, is not just Manny Diaz, but they have a quarterback. The kid can play. And this is going to be a great test for him, because Illinois is really about defense and they want to run the ball, play physical. And we know Manny Diaz wants to be physical as well. And Atwater's a good quarterback for Illinois. So this is a nice little matchup. You got good coaching, physical play, good quarterbacks. This might be like the Kansas-Missouri game. I think this game is also up there as far as, maybe one of the better games that you want to watch this weekend.
Yeah, that's under the radar. Exactly. I agree. Well, Greg, it was really great catching up with you on the Against the Spread podcast this week. I'm going to look forward to joining you and Jim Feist every Friday, beginning for me a week from tomorrow. You and Jim are going to pick up the show on Friday here on ProLine TV. I encourage all of our listeners out there to tune into that show for sure.
4 o'clock Eastern.
Eastern, yes, I should say Eastern. We
4 Eastern.
Be aware of that. And also check out Jim Feist, Victor King, going through their NFL totals and props show tomorrow. That'll also be on the ProLine TV network. So until next week, once again, for the crew, the experts here at ProLine TV on the Against the Spread podcast, this is Mark Lawrence, once again reminding you to always to remember to bet with your head, not over it, and good luck as always.